Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside District Commander Volume 1, Maracas Virtualia 2019. This is a game designed by Brian Train and published by Hollandspiele Games. This was just released on Monday and it is Saturday morning and I received my copy just a few minutes ago. So on the table it goes, the camera comes out, and I'm going to share a look inside with you. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. District Commander Maracas. Time, right about now. Place, Maracas, capital city of Virtualia. Situation, the sudden departure from power of Jesus Shaves, charismatic leader of Virtualia, has created a power vacuum in the streets of Maracas, capital city with a population of over 3 million people. The Virtualian liberation movement is exploiting this situation by organizing areas of the city against established authority, sabotaging civic services, and staging attacks on symbolic objective points. The local security force commander must contend with not only the urban guerrillas of the VLM, but also private neighborhood armies and criminal gangs running amok. This first title in the District Commander series models conflict not in the mountains or jungles of yesterday, but the congested and labyrinthine megacities of today. This is the arena in which tomorrow's wars will be fought. And like the man said, we should all be interested in the future, for that is where you and I will spend the rest of our lives. District Commander Maracas is an essential addition to the library of any serious student of cutting-edge counterinsurgency doctrine and theory. And it has a little bit about Brian up here on the top, and the components are listed as 22 by 17-inch map sheet, 264 counters, a double-sided player aid, 2 player display sheets, 16-page system rulebook, an 8-page module rulebook, and 8 strategy cards. So that is a little bit about the game. Now let's take a look inside and see what we get. All right, so we have our strategy cards, sequence of play, our red and blue team tracks, the module rules, the series rules, and a counter sheet and a half of counters, and our map. So let's set up the map and take a look at the game. And here's a look at the map that comes with District Commander Maracas. This is a familiar sight to anybody who's played coin games before. Everything's broken down into separate areas, and inside those areas you have underground areas as well as some other key locations like docks, stadium, airport, and the October 24th Plaza. And in each area you have population and terrain modifier numbers, so that will affect operations and combat in those areas differently. So as I said, if you played any coin games, you're already familiar with this layout. It's not anything that will throw you off. You'll feel very much at home. Take a look at our 2 player mats that come with the game. This is the Insurgent player mat, the all-purpose record track up here that is going to be used to track things like your task points, which allow you to do different things throughout the game, like all your operations. Unit box for your units available, militia available, and disrupted units and assets. And down here at the bottom is your Insurgent strategy. There is destabilization, ultraviolence, primacy of power, and shadow government as the 4 types of Insurgent strategies you can follow in the game. Next is our government mat, same as before. This will be used to track your task points. Then you have units available for deployment, militia available, disrupted units and assets. And then you have your QRF over here, which is a little bit different than the insurgency. You have a quick reaction force. And the government strategy is counterinsurgency, counter-guerrilla, assert power and legitimacy, and control key territory. Then we have the sequence of play, your planning and preparation phase, deployment segment, intelligence segment, operations phase, turn end phase where you get your redeployment, and then your victory point adjustment and the appeal to authority segment. Then on the back of the player aid we have the mission chart. The 4 tactical missions that are available are the patrol, attack, ambush, and move. Patrol is for the government player only, ambush is for the insurgent player only. How you compare the ratings when you're carrying out the mission and all the steps in carrying them out. Then you have the non-tactical missions, which is really about infrastructure here, about building and repairing, sabotaging, reducing, recruiting and promoting militia, intimidation, and removing terror. So these are all concepts that'll be pretty familiar to anybody who's played coin games before. And here's a look at the counters that come with the game. These are the insurgent forces. You have your militia and guerrilla forces, as well as a bunch of different admin counters on either side. These are the chance chits, which will be used to determine the outcome of combats and operations in the game. This game does not use dice, so it is a diceless system, as I said on the back of the box, and these are going to be factoring into how you carry out your operations. One thing I do note here is, check that out. Tell me that ain't Citizen Kane. I love the look of that. Then we'll look at the government forces here. We have our military and combat counters, and we've got some more admin counters. These are for more areas that are terrorized. We've got a little Che Guevara counter, and Columbo's on the job. We're good to go. Then we have our strategy cards for the insurgent and for the government player, and we'll take a look at the insurgent one first. This is the 4 strategies that we saw on the player aid card, or the player mat, for the insurgent: destabilization, ultraviolence, primacy of power, and shadow government. Each one's going to have different numbers, so you're going to get different victory points for different conditions based on your strategy chosen. And for the government player, you have your 4 different strategies: counter-insurgency, counter-guerrilla, assert power and legitimacy, and control key territory, with different victory points and penalties for those. Next, we'll take a look at the series rulebook. This is a 14-page rulebook that will be used across all 4 games in the series. Introduction, game concepts and components, explains to you mechanics, secrecy, winning the game, variable strategies, and then a breakdown of your components and explanation of how the units are used and how to read them. Militia units, police, and combat units for the government, militia, guerrilla, and main combat forces for the insurgents. Then you have your infrastructure units, chance chits, which we've already seen all these when we looked at the counter sheets. The chance chits are what we talked about before, where it's going to be diceless combat. These are going to be used to determine the outcome of operations in combat by having a little bit of chaos in the mix, but allowing player agency, because you're going to be randomly drawing these counters, but you're also going to be able to decide when you use them. And I think that's pretty cool, because you're adding a little bit of chaos, but you're allowed to, I don't want to say master the chaos, but you're allowed to try to throttle it a little bit and use it to your advantage. And just like we saw on the player aid card, everything is laid out in the rulebook in the same sequential order. We have the sequence of play here: planning and preparations phase, the operations phase, and all the steps that are available to you, the different things you can do under each one. Player missions, we get into the tactical and non-tactical missions, task point expenditure and deficits. Then you have your chance chits and missions. Tactical missions with patrol starting off the first one and carrying on over here with an example of play, a text example. Looks like there's no illustrated examples so far in the rulebook. Everything will be text. Then your attack, your foreign firepower advantage, another example for there. And then ambush, move, non-tactical missions over here for your build friendly infrastructure, reduce enemy infrastructure, recruit or promote militia, intimidation, remove terror, disrupting units, terrorized areas. Then we get to the turn-in phase for your redeployment segment and your victory point and adjustment segment, appeal to authority segment, and then your special rules, which cover militia, infrastructure units, government combat unit modes, and then the advanced optional units. So the base rules themselves go to page 12, and then at this point on, we're going into advanced optional rules, things like assets, foreign combat units and assets, intelligence assets. So you can have intelligence chits that work, I guess, similar to the chance chits. That's what it looks like, because I guess you'll be drawing them, and you draw from an intelligence pool. So you're adding a little bit of chaos and randomness to that, which is pretty cool. Then you have scenario and setup instructions, optional variations in play, and there are several of them for you to explore and play around with, and that is where it'll give you kind of a sandbox feel. Then you have solitaire play on the back here. It says no chit Sherlock. If you're trying to play this game alone, the chance chit selection and play mechanism may give you pause. If you feel you cannot summon the necessary degree of brain bifurcation, then try the following. Do not use the chits. All insurgency units are always face up. So you can basically, it's saying here to use dice instead, which is what a lot of people will do when they're playing solitaire, or you just play both sides to the best of your ability and just explore the system and see what it gives you. But next, we'll take a look at the module-specific rules for District Commander. This is a 5-page rulebook, and this will explain to you the different rules, how they adjust for Maracas compared to the series rulebook, and where they will be placed in the sequences. Here we got planning and preparations phase, operation phase, how they're handled in Maracas may be different than they are in the series rulebook. Then you have your turn-in phase, the description of your different units and their efficiencies. For the government player, and then for the insurgent player, you have the assets here. That is the Citizen Kane looking guy I was saying. He's the double agent. And then the command node is the Che Guevara counter. And then you have your criminal units, non-state militias, and objective points here, scenario and setup instructions for free deployment scenario. And then there is a random deployment scenario. And then designer's notes on page 5, which carry over to page 6. And then on the back of the book, we have the random events table, which will change things up every time you play. And that is a look at everything you get inside of District Commander Maracas Virtualia 2019. It is a game designed by Brian Train and published by Hollandspiele Games. And as I said before, it just came out on Monday, so you're not too far behind if you haven't placed your order yet. Go ahead and place your order. You'll see it soon enough. If you're a fan of Brian's games, you're going to know what to expect. It looks to be a really interesting study on counterinsurgency, as are most of his titles. I really like his look at things. He makes you really appreciate aspects of counterinsurgency that you may not have thought about before. And this looks, with the added rules, the added optional rules, things, it kind of expands it out to be more of a sandbox. And I like that idea of not only having a more strict environment to play in, kind of what the designer's intent is, hey, take a look at these things, but hey, there's some extra steps that you can open things up a little bit and explore a whole bunch of different things on your own, which is pretty cool. And if you are interested in coin, this is definitely going to want to be on your radar for sure, if it's not already. So hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this game. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.